India's time is now. According to the esteemed late economic historian Angus Maddison, the country had once been an economic giant. To call it a giant would even be an understatement, considering it ruled the world's economy for 1.5 millennia until China surpassed it in 1820. Still, it was the second country with the largest economy until Britain's rise in 1870, and with the USA bursting into the scene in 1900. Now, India is poised to be ahead of the United States and China after overtaking the UK as the world's fifth-largest economy. But how will that be possible? These are the top 10 reasons India will be richer than USA and China. Number 10. Population. Before COVID, India has consistently maintained a GDP growth rate of 8% for 15 years, compared with less than 2% for the US. Also, S&P Global Ratings predicted that India's GDP growth rate will rise by 7% by 2026. The reason for this growth rate and projection is India's population. The country's population allows it to enjoy a lower per capita cost of building infrastructure. Imagine the country building roads. The more the population of those living around the road grows, the less the per capita cost of maintaining or extending such a road. And it doesn't stop at roads. It covers all critical infrastructures the government builds. Another example is India's Aadhaar and the United Payments Interface, UPI, the country's digital payments infrastructure. So, the more users of the payment infrastructure, the lower the per capita cost of maintaining and expanding said infrastructure. The population density doesn't only provide an advantage when it comes to per capita costs. It also plays a role in creating supply chains, especially as investors are becoming more wary of investing in China, but more on that later. Number 9. Workforce. India's GDP per capita is lower than 20% of China's and 5% of the US's, so there's a huge gap. But this is a good thing. There's ample ground for the country to grow and catch up, and the best part is that it has the workforce to do so. True, when it comes to women's involvement in the workforce, India could be doing better, as less than a quarter of women 15 and above are part of India's workforce. China has 3/5 of its 15 and above actively engaged in the workforce, and the same goes for the United States. So, if India can bridge this gap between its working men and women, it'll be a force to reckon with. Why is that so, you wonder? Over the next 2 decades, the dependency ratio of India will be one of the lowest among regional economies, said Santanu Sengupta of Goldman Sachs. What this simply means is that India will soon improve its position as a population where more working-age adults can support the children and elderly. A younger and larger percentage of working-age people means a youthful workforce that can be more productive. It also means that the workforce would be driven by energetic youths who can find creative and innovative solutions to the country's issues. Lastly, savings. Savings? Wait, let us explain. A younger workforce tends to save for old age. The people who are old spend more than they save. So a younger population and workforce means higher savings, which leads to higher investment. With a higher investment, there is growth. Compared to India, both China and America have older populations. India has 28.2 years median age, while the United States and China have 38.9 and 39.0 years respectively. TikTok number 8, tech investments. When it comes to India's growth in technological advancement, the country's trajectory is up. Already the country is witnessing impressive growth in its service sector, but as things are going, it would seem that India has barely scratched the surface of its technological surface. NASSCOM, India's non-governmental trade association, claims that the country's tech sector will see an increase of $245 billion around the end of 2023. NASSCOM then claimed the development would spread across software product development, IT, and business process management. Number 7. Manufacturing industry. With India's young population, there is a high likelihood of growth in its manufacturing and service industries. The country's manufacturing sector helped push the country to a double-digit growth of 13.8% in the second quarter of 2022 after India lifted COVID-19 regulations. With its youth, India will improve its manufacturing sector and eat China's position as one of the world's suppliers of different products. The educated workforce will also help the country grow and have state-of-the-art IT and pharmaceutical sectors. Number 6. China's Western woes. Remember what we mentioned about supply chains? Okay, China currently is not the darling of Western countries, with the differences between China and the West growing. This provides a business opportunity for India to be richer than both the United States and China as the international supply chains get reshaped. Number 5. Lack of trust in China. Growing friction with the Western countries is not the only thing that'll reshape international supply lines. There's also a growing lack of trust between China and its investors due to certain inclinations China has recently shown to businessmen. So companies are now developing a China plus 1 inch strategy. This means they are looking for a safe and cheap place for their investments alongside their holdings in China. This is where India comes in with its large single market and youthful population. With that population, companies entering India will have access to a workforce that can communicate in English and is tech-savvy. Apart from the lack of trust in how China is handling businessmen and investors, the country has a growing problem with its real estate sector. Demand for new properties remains lackluster, affecting developers' cash flows and land sales, said Eunice Tan, Asia-Pacific's head of credit research at S&P Global. In summary, the problematic real estate sector is killing China's economy. While the United States real estate isn't in a dangerous situation, it is dealing with its fair share of problems too. Number 4. Infrastructure. It still comes down to the effect of India's growing population, which has surpassed China's, by the way. The expectation that the young working-age population will continue to drive infrastructural development is an accurate one. The Indian government has prioritized continued infrastructural development of roads and railways. Even the country's budget has continued its 50-year interest-free loan programs to state governments to ensure continued infrastructural growth. Number 3. India's industrial liberation. In the 90s, India went through an economic reform that saw it reduce governmental control over certain aspects of the economy, such as the industries. This reform will help it become richer than the United States and China, as already it has allowed the nation to rise above the United Kingdom as the 5th largest economy in the world. The country could take this economic liberalization further by privatizing some more public sector businesses, such as the banks that have proven unable to yield profit. Number 2. The billionaires. You know American billionaires like Elon Musk and Alibaba's founder Jack Ma. India has its Gautam Adani and Mukesh Ambani, but those two seem to like to go under the radar. However, they have achieved quite a lot, and in a way, they are driving the country's growth. For instance, Adani, despite the controversy of his company mining coal in Australia, is investing heavily in green energy projects and has the ambition of becoming the biggest renewable energy producer in the world. Adani also has a port, which brings in investment into the country. With investments from Adani and other Indian billionaires, it's easy to see why the country will not only catch up, but surpass the United States and China. Number 1. Citizen enthusiasm. With our accomplishments over the past 3 decades, we have earned the right to dream big. What can be a greater dream than to be able to celebrate the centenary of our independence in 2047 by making India one of the world's 3 wealthiest nations, on par with America and China? Mukesh Ambani wrote on 30 years of India's economic liberalization. It is this kind of attitude that helps fuel the productive desire among citizens. Both the government and the citizens have a goal in mind. They want to catch up with China and the United States in 2047. That's a long way to go, but there appears to be cooperation among government and citizens on this. India is on course to be richer than the United States and China, but the estimation is that this will only be possible until 2075. However, these are just projections on how things currently are. India could achieve this goal faster, or it may not at all. What do you think? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our channel.